So today's video is about dividing fractions and mixed numbers. So how do you divide fractions? Just remember the rhyme. Keep, change, flip. Keep, change, flip to the beat. Now keep, change, flip. Keep, change, flip. How do you divide mixed numbers? Well, you change all mixed numbers to improper fractions first, and then you divide by doing keep, change, flip to the beat. Now keep, change, flip. So what do you do if you have a whole number? Well, you place a 1 under the whole number first, and then you divide by doing keep, change, flip. You know it now. Keep, change, flip. Alright, so first we want to talk about this word called a reciprocal. So a reciprocal is when you take a fraction and you literally flip it over. So the reciprocal of a fraction is that fraction flipped over. So let's look at this fraction, 4/7. I want to find the reciprocal of 4/7. So I'm basically going to flip the fraction over, and so the reciprocal will be 7/4. You can even find the reciprocal of a mixed number. The first thing you'll do is change the mixed number to an improper fraction. So 3.5 gives me 7/2. And then to find the reciprocal of it, now I can simply flip it over. So then the reciprocal would be 2/7. So the reciprocal of 3.5 is actually 2/7. Even when you have a whole number, you can find the reciprocal. So the first thing you'll do is make the whole number into a fraction by placing it over 1. And then once you have made the whole number into a fraction, then you can flip it over. And so the reciprocal of 9 would be 1/9. So a reciprocal is when you take a fraction and you flip it over. So let's find the quotient of 6/7 divided by 4/5. So my first step is to flip the second fraction. So I've got this problem here, 6/7 divided by 4/5. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my second fraction, and it's only the second fraction that gets flipped. That's where the rap keep, change, flip comes from. You're going to keep the first fraction the same. The division will change to multiplication, and then the second fraction you flip. So this second fraction, 4/5, I'm actually going to flip over, and it's going to become 5/4. And so now that I have flipped the second fraction over, now I'm going to go ahead and multiply. And so you're going to use the same rules that you always use for multiplication. And so what I've done is I've looked here and I've said, okay, 6/7 times 5/4. And I've looked at this diagonal and said, oh, I can actually simplify this diagonal because 6 and 4 can both be divided by 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, and then 6 divided by 2 is 3. So now, instead of doing 6 times 5, I'm going to do 3 times 5, which gives me 15, and then 7 times 2, which gives me 14. Well, right now my answer is an improper fraction, and I don't want to leave it like that, so I've got to change it to a mixed number by dividing. And remember, the numerator always goes inside the house, and the denominator goes outside. So I'm going to first divide 4 into 15, and it goes in there 1 time, and then 1 times 14 is 14. I subtract, and I have 1 left over. So remember, that remainder is going to become the numerator of my fraction, and then the denominator is going to stay the same. So my answer becomes 1 and 1/14. So now I want to find the quotient of 5 divided by 1 2/3. So when you have mixed numbers and whole numbers, you got to do a little bit of an extra step before you can do your keep, change, flip. Anytime I have a mixed number, I'm going to change the mixed number to an improper fraction. And anytime I have a whole number, I'm going to put the whole number over 1. And in this problem, I actually have both. So the first thing I'll do is take my whole number, 5, and place it over 1. Then the next thing I'm going to do is take my mixed number and change it to an improper fraction. So I'm going to multiply 3 times 1, which gives me 3, then add 2, which gives me 5. So then it becomes 5, and then you keep the denominator the same, so it becomes 5/3. So now that I have put the whole number over 1, and I've changed the improper fraction to a mixed number, now I can do keep, change, flip. So my first fraction will stay the same, but that second fraction is going to flip over. So 5/3 is going to flip over to 3/5. And then the division is going to change to multiplication. Sorry about that. Click the wrong thing. So I'm going to do 5/1 times 3/5. So again, I look at my diagonals and I see, oh, this diagonal with the 5 and the 5 can be simplified because they can both be divided by 5. And so then 5 and 5, since they can both be divided by 5, 5 divided by 5 gives me 1. So they're both going to change to 1. So now instead of doing 5 times 3, now I'm simply going to do 1 times 3, which gives me 3, and then 1 times 1, which gives me 1. And this is an improper fraction. And I know that 3 over 1 just basically gives me 3 wholes. So my answer would be 3 wholes. So when you are dividing fractions, you want to keep it. You want to remember, keep, change, flip. You keep the first fraction the same. You change the division to multiplication, and then you flip the second fraction over. If you have a mixed number in the problem, before you can do keep, change, flip, you need to change all mixed numbers to improper fractions. And if you have a whole number, before you do keep, change, flip, you want to place a whole number over 1. All right, don't forget to do your teach to the tiger.